Hey parents, thanks for joining me for our Let's Talk session this week. We're going to be jumping into the topic of how to stand your ground. And also, before I move forward, if you have not looked at my free webinar training that I just recently posted about gaining your confidence within your parenting role, go ahead and check that out as well, okay? Sometime this weekend when you can relax and just have some time to listen to it. It's just about 35 minutes. It's not very long, but it's power-packed. So as many of you know, each month I'm going to provide you with a form that you can fill out at the bottom of my Let's Talk session videos, where you can submit topics that you would like me to speak about. So the subtopic this week is going to be how to deal with manipulation from your children, right? This topic was actually suggested to me by a parent. So we're going to jump right into that topic today. If you've been seeing this same issue within your house, if you're having trouble with dealing with your children, you're not sure if they're trying to manipulate you, but you think they might be, you definitely want to keep watching. We're just going to get into this topic and talk a little bit about it so that you can know what to look for within your household and how to handle some of those problems that you're seeing. First of all, I want to start out by saying when your child is trying to manipulate you, usually it's because they think that they can, right? They're going to try to see if they can challenge your authority in some way. They're going to try to see if they can trick you into believing something that they're telling you, right? So what we have to practice as parents is being more aware, right? Being more aware of what our children are getting into. Look a little further into what our child is telling us, because we don't want to just take everything that our children are telling us and then we believe it, right? Because at some point, they may be lying. They may be trying to manipulate us. And these are the signs that you can look for. So when your child tells you something, if they're giving you really short answers, right? They're asking you, hey, can I go on this website? Or can I go play this game with my friends? Or can I go to my friend's house? Whatever they're asking you about. If they don't want to give you too many details, they just have a quick question. And when you're asking them about giving you more details, right? They don't want to take the time to do it. That doesn't always mean that they're being manipulative. Sometimes they're just trying to get to whatever they want to do really quickly. But sometimes they're trying to hide the details from you on purpose, right? So I don't want you to think that when your child is being short with you, right, they're giving those short answers, that they're automatically manipulating you. But it's something that should get your attention. Why is my child rushing me, right? Why is my child trying to force me to give them a quick answer? Because if they want to do this thing so badly, they should be able to give you what you need from them, which is more details, more information, so that they can possibly get the permission to go do what they want to do. So first of all, as parents and guardians, we can't allow ourselves to feel like, to feel pressured, right? To feel pressed into making sure we say yes so our child is happy with us, because we could be saying yes to our child and allowing them to go do something that they should not be doing. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to be more concerned about making sure our kids are happy, right? Making sure that they're happy with us. And what's really happening is that they're manipulating us, right? They end up knowing that, hey, out of mom or dad, or might be a guardian watching me, or whatever title you have as a parent, they will end up learning that they can go to you when they want something because you're going to give it to them, right? So they'll intentionally try to be really sweet and kiss up to you. That's another thing they'll do. Usually when your child is trying to manipulate you, they won't necessarily always try to be obedient, but they'll try to make it seem like they're being obedient. They'll try to make it seem like they're doing everything that you're telling them to do, right? And then sometimes they're actually doing what you're telling them to do, but their heart isn't right behind it, right? You might allow your child to play video games at some time during the week or during the weekend, and previously told your child, yeah, I don't mind if you play with your friends. Once I know which friends you're playing with, you can play video games with your friends. But you have to remember, your child is usually going to try to push the envelope with you, okay? So for instance, with this video game scenario, your child may know that, hey, mom or dad or my guardian gave me permission to play video games, right? But they may know that you wouldn't agree with a certain video game because maybe it's really violent or has something in it that you have told them you don't want them to be entertaining, right? Or something that's really big these days is children being able to interact with adults and different players while they're playing online, right? So you may be a parent that doesn't agree with that. You may be a parent or guardian that says, you know what, I don't want you to be able to go online. If you want to play a video game that allows you to be able to interact with other people, I need to know about that first before you do it. I need to know more about it. So you need to tell me the name. You need to tell me the full name of the game, so I can look it up and make sure you're safe on this game, right? Well, your child can try to manipulate you even in that, because there can be a different version of the game that you wouldn't allow them to play, right? So there might be a game that you've told them they can play, but now there's a new version that came out and they can interact with people in different ways, and they know that you don't agree with that, right? Because you're trying to protect them, because you're worried about safety, but they're worried about something else. They're worried about fitting in with their friends. They're worried about missing out on the fun, or what they feel like is going to be more fun. So your child can seem to be doing everything that you've told them to do throughout the day. If you tell them to do their chores, if you have chores for them to do, or if you're telling them, I need you to help me with this or that, and they're helping you, right? Maybe they're just checking everything off of the list, making sure that you feel like they're on perfect behavior. So there's no chance that you can't tell them they can't play with their friends, right? So to you, it can seem like they're being obedient, right? They're lining up with all of the things that you're telling them to do. But with children, you have to remember, even when we were growing up, even when you and we were younger, we would be sneaky sometimes, right? I know I was sometimes. So sneakiness and mischievousness is something that children a lot of times give into, right? Even if you have a child that is mostly obedient, there are times when they'll try to sneak and do things. There are times when they're going to try to get what they want, right? It doesn't take long for a child, even a very young child, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, to learn how to manipulate you, right? So I'm using these different scenarios because I know as parents and guardians, we are raising children of all different ages, right? You might be raising a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 12-year-old. But manipulation from any child, from any age, is something you don't want to allow. It's something that you have to be careful with. You don't want to give into it, because then you're teaching your children, right? You're teaching them how to manipulate you. You're teaching them how to become a manipulative person. You're teaching them a behavior. When our children learn that they can just tell us what we want to hear, and they can put their words together a certain way to where it's believable, right? And they're leaving out details and information. A lot of times, especially if they know that we're not going to look into what they're telling us, right? If they're asking us, can I go to my friend's house? And they know before they've been able to go to that friend's house, but we're not asking them, where are they going? What are they going to be doing? I need to speak to your friend's mom or dad or guardian to make sure everything's okay, to make sure I know what's going to be happening over there. If we just take everything our children are telling us at face value and we don't look into it, we don't investigate, right? Then it's going to be really easy for them to manipulate us. So as parents, we have to learn how to stand our ground, right? That's what this month's topic is about, right? Learning how to stand your ground. And that's why we're going to be speaking about many different topics within that, right? Many different issues that we deal with within standing our ground. Different issues that us as parents and guardians have to tackle so that we can stand our ground, right? So the children that we're raising learn respect and they understand we can't be easily tricked. We can't just be told something and we're not going to look into it. And I just want to pause right here and let you know, many of you know I have a home office. And so if you hear anything in the background, it's probably my kids. It's their lunchtime. Remember, I have virtual students. So yeah, if you hear any noise, any talking in the background, it's my kids. What came to my mind just now was there was a job I used to have, right? And I remember with this job, I had an amazing boss. She was amazing. Well, she was a manager, but she was my boss. And the reason why she was so amazing to me and I was so impressed with her was because she was a much older lady, but she was still so sharp, right? She was still so aware, circumspect. She looked into things, right? She was on top of her duties to the point where she wouldn't let you get away with anything, right? We could have 10 more minutes of work that we needed to do, right? It could be 10 minutes before we have to clock out. You had to be busy working. If she found you standing around talking or doing anything other than work, some kind of work, she would get on top of you, right? She was a really good manager, and the reason why I say that is because she treated us with respect. She corrected us when she saw that there were problems. But as far as how she managed the team that she was a part of, right, while I was working for that company, I was really impressed. And the thing was, a lot of the different workers used to feel like they could take advantage of her because she was an older person, right? She was older in age. So they felt like, she's not going to be able to keep up with us and really be on top of us, and so we're going to be able to slip some things past her. But that's not what I saw. I mean, I saw that anytime somebody did something, she was on top of it, or the word would get back to her and she would take care of it. So I really learned how to gain a lot of respect for her because she stood her ground, right? Because she didn't allow us to walk all over her, because she didn't allow us to disrespect her or manipulate her or try to trick her because we felt like we could. She knew, right? She knew her position and she walked in it confidently, right? She would look into things when we would bring things to her, or even when she would just walk around and check on everything, she would look into things, right? And I observed that about her. So that's something as parents and as guardians, we really have to do as well. We have to take the time to look into things, right? Because a lot of times we get tired, not just in our bodies, but in our minds. You don't want to deal with any issues. You don't want to correct your child. We're looking at them like, leave me alone. We can have that look on our face. And some of us even tell our kids that. We may tell them, I don't want to be bothered right now. Well, we do have those moments that sometimes we do have to step away and just take a break, right? Go for a walk or go pray or go in our room and lay our head down for a while. We may have a headache or something like that. But if our children need us, we need to take care of them. We need to be there for them. We don't want to just be burned out from our day and not want to deal with our kids, right? And they're coming to us even if there's not an issue that we have to deal with, but they're just coming to us, asking us if they can do this or that, or trying to see if they can get something. We need to be able to, gather ourselves and be able to say, okay, hold on, before I tell you yes, I need to look into this. Yes, having children is a big responsibility. Having a child, just one child, is still a big responsibility. And the reason why I'm telling you that even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated, maybe at the end of the day, that you need to do whatever you need to do to calm down and make sure that you are present when you come home, is because this is something I've had to learn over the 15 years of parenting experience that I have, right? I've had to learn, hey, get yourself together before you get in that house. Get your mind together, right? Get your heart ready, right? Be prayed up, be praying. Ask God to help you because your children are coming with the problems that they may be having. Your husband might need help with something. There's some issues that you might have to work out even before your husband even gets home. And you need to be able to be ready to deal with those things, right? There were so many different times that my children had asked me for things. My children asked me if they can do something almost every week. There's always a question about, Mom, can I download this app? Or can I play this game? Or can I do that? Can I do this? So I've come up with a system with my children in how they know how to approach me with these things. First of all, they know they can't just jump up and do whatever they want to do, right? They can't trick me into believing that I told them they can do something when I've never seen that app or that game or whatever it might be before, right? Whatever they're doing, if I've never seen it before, they can't manipulate me and say, well, you've already told me I can do it. Because they know I'll tell them, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember that website or that game or anything like that. I don't believe I've seen that ever, right? So get off of it right now. And if I see you on it again, then it's going to be consequences. I may give them that. I may give them that chance. So they know if they want to do something, anything, go on a website, download anything, play a new game, watch a movie, that they have to ask me or their father, right? And it has to be approved. Because why? I'm responsible for them, right? We have to understand that as parents, we are responsible. As guardians, we are responsible for what our children are exposed to. And whatever you allow them to engage in or be exposed to, it's going to influence their thinking. It's going to influence their behavior, right? So that's why it's so important for us as guardians and parents to be more involved with our children and be more aware of the things that they're getting into, right? So even though my child may really want something, even though they may ask me for it, I don't allow them to wear me down to where I give in. In fact, if they keep asking me, I tell them, if you ask me again about this, you're not going to get it at all. There's no chance. And I'll make sure their dad knows as well, because they have to know they're not going to force me into giving them what they want, right? I'm not getting into a power struggle with them. I'm in charge, I'm the parent, but then I allow you, my child, to come in and force me into agreeing to allow you to do something. No. That's why I just posted this free webinar for you on my channel here, because we have to begin taking the control back. Many of us have lost the control within our household, and our children know that we have lost the control, right? But we can gain it back. That's the beautiful thing about it. So again, if you have not taken the time to check out that webinar training, it's only about 35 minutes, right? 30 to 35 to 36 minutes. It is not long at all, but it has so much, right? It goes in deeper and it really breaks down serious issues that we have to face as parents and how to begin taking that control back. As a leader, we can't allow ourselves to just go around being tricked and manipulated by our children, right? They're never going to learn to respect us if we do that. And a lot of times we have to stop and ask ourselves those really hard questions, right? Like, why does my child keep manipulating me, right? Why do I keep finding that my child is trying to get what they want out of me and I keep telling them no, but they keep trying? Well, that's just the nature of a child. A lot of times they just care about what they want and they're not caring how it's affecting anyone else, right? They don't care who it hurts. But we have to teach our children, right? We have to ask ourselves, am I making this easy for my child to manipulate me? Because honestly, children know who they can try to manipulate more than another parent, right? So if you're the kind of parent that doesn't look into things, doesn't take time to think about things and look into things before you tell your child yes to something, basically giving them permission to do that thing, to engage in that thing, right? Whether it's a game, whether it's going somewhere with friends, right? If your child knows you just want to keep a relationship with them, and this is something else we have to be careful of. If your child realizes that you want to be close to them, right? Sometimes they can begin to use that against you, right? So that's something that we don't want to allow our children to do, right? To use the fact that we would like to have a closer relationship with them. Maybe you're in the midst of trying to build a closer relationship with your child, right? Or rebuild a relationship that had been broken, right, with your child, and maybe now they're shutting down on you. I've went through that before, just over the course of time of me being a parent over these 15 years, right? Where some of my children may have tried to close me off, because when they know that you want to build a relationship with them, you want to get closer to them, get to know them, you've expressed that to them, right? I want to get to know you better. I want you to know that you can trust me. I want you to know I'm here for you, right? Sometimes they can use those things that are really good, right? If you're doing that, if you're saying that, that's good. If you're putting in the work to try to build a relationship with your child, right? But don't allow that factor, the fact that you really do want this relationship with your child, don't allow that to get in the way of you operating within your role as a parent, right? Or a guardian, because children will try to use anything that they can, anything that they see that will work on you, they will use it. And sometimes kids go even further than that, right? As far as the manipulation. They may try to do things like not want to talk to you, not want to be around you, threaten you, right? Threaten you with maybe telling you that they don't want to live with you anymore, or they're going to want to live with someone else, maybe even the other parent if you're co-parenting, right? Because they say, you know, you're being unfair to them, or you're mistreating them, right? Or you're mean to them. And if your child is telling you that because you're not giving them what they want, right? Because you see that the things that they're asking for are not things that they should have, right? Or that are safe for them, then you don't have to feel guilty about that, right? So as parents, we have to get a grip on that. We have to get a grip on our emotions. That's one thing I would tell you, because kids learn, right? Our children learn how to use that against us. They know how to pull on our heartstrings, right? They know how to get under your skin, but what you have to do is not get into that power struggle, right? You have to take that power back, Because if you don't take control within that situation and allow yourself to just be tricked into doing something, into giving your child something that they should not be having, right? Something that can be harmful to them, or just something that they don't need at that time. Maybe you're dealing with them in certain issues and they want certain things that's not going to help them. It's actually going to hurt them, right? Or maybe they're misbehaving. Maybe they're just acting up at school or getting bad grades or not listening to you, and they're asking you for things that they really don't deserve. They don't deserve it because their behavior is bad, right? Whether it's at school or home or even both, right? We have to remember as parents and guardians to just not be moved by our emotions. Though they may love us, they're usually just thinking about one thing when it comes to manipulation. They're thinking about, how can I get what I want? I want to get what I want, and by any means necessary, I'm going to get it. Even now, I'm thinking about in the beginning years of when I became a mother, right? Many of you know, some of you don't, that when I had first gotten married, when I was 21 years old, I began being a mother right away because my husband already had a son from a previous relationship. His son became my son, right? And I just remember how he would try to manipulate me at the time, right? Throughout the years of him being really young and even him growing into being a teenager. But especially when he was between that age of 7 years old and 11, 12 years old, I remember how he would try to manipulate me all the time. He would try to get things out of me. And of course, the children that I started to have after him, right? Because I began to grow my family and get pregnant and have twins and have my other children, right? Of course, they grew up and would try to manipulate me sometimes too, or manipulate their father or their grandparents, because this is what children end up trying to do when they want to get their way, right? But I remember in the very beginning how I didn't have a lot of experience with children. You know, the only children I had experience with helping to raise were my nieces. And I remember they would try to get their way. They would try to manipulate me. And many times I think I could catch what they were doing, you know. Let's say they wanted to have a lot of juice. I had a niece that used to love to drink juice, right? If you would let her drink juice all day, she would drink it like water. But I knew, okay, even though you want me to put more juice in your cup, you know, I'm not going to let you do that, right? You need water, right? But when I think back on when I started to raise my oldest son, he would try so many different things. He would try to trick me, and then when he couldn't trick me, he would go and try to manipulate his grandparents. And when he couldn't manipulate both of them, he would see which one he could manipulate. And him in particular, him out of all of my children, he learned a lot of those different ways, right? Even outside of our household, because we weren't teaching him how to manipulate, but he was allowed to get away with certain things and do certain things in the other household that he lived in, right? In the other environments that he was in when he wasn't around us, right? So he had learned a lot of habits. He had learned a lot of things, even from some adults that he was around outside of our household, you know, and then he started to try to implement those things, right? I had to make sure as a mother, though I was trying to build a relationship with him, and this is for all of you as well who have a blended family, right? I wanted to make sure that I gave him what he needed, right? He needed discipline. He needed to be corrected. He needed all of these things, right? He didn't need me to give in to everything that he wanted. He didn't need me to be easily tricked into whatever he was trying to convey to me, because that was going to teach him a bad behavior. He had already learned bad behavior, right? When we joined together as a blended family, he came in with a lot of those behaviors already, right? So I didn't want to help him to stay that way. And that's what we do a lot of times as parents. We give into our kids, especially the children within our blended families that we're trying to grow a bond with, because we don't want them to be mad at us. We don't want them to push us away, because we're really trying to make it work. We're really trying to build this relationship, right? And we don't want anything to come in between it. We do that as well with our biological children a lot of times, right? But one thing that I would tell you is, I want to share with you something that I did. You know, I used to pray about everything. I used to pray about how to deal with my son, because he was the first child that I had, and I wanted to make sure that I was dealing with him the correct way, right? And in the back of my mind, you know, as a parent and even as a mother, I would kind of fear a little bit that he wouldn't accept me as his mother, right? That he would just continue to push me away and give me a hard time, because I would put aside time for him. I would make time for him. My husband and I only could have him with us on the weekends or during the summertime and things like that. I wanted to build that relationship with him. I would use any opportunity that I could to pour into him, right? Give him wisdom, give him direction, teach him the word of God, right? Even if it was through cartoons, like I'd have a little Bible study with him. And then I would also let him watch like Bible cartoons and things like that. Would spend time with him, right? Build him up, even in his self-esteem, learn his likes, learn his dislikes, So I continued to give him the things that he needed, right? From me. I continued to persevere with even spending time with him and learning the things that he liked to do and doing those things with him sometimes, He liked to wrestle, he liked skateboarding, so sometimes I would take him to the skateboard park or just be around him when he was doing his tricks and, show interest in what he was doing, right? These are the things that I would do to make sure that he knew, hey, I'm here for you. I love you, right? I'm not angry with you. I care about you, right? So when I did catch him in a lie, or when I did catch him trying to manipulate me and I corrected him, he knew I was doing it out of love. Maybe at the time he didn't feel like that, right? All he probably was thinking was, she's mean. She's not giving me what I want, right? But I couldn't allow that. I couldn't allow my emotions to take me somewhere. I couldn't allow that fear in the back of my mind of him not accepting me and not letting me in, as a mother. I could not allow that to cause me to just give in to whatever he wanted, right? Because I really cared about him. I couldn't just think about our relationship then, about how I really want a relationship with him, right? I need to teach my son how to not be this way, right? I need to teach him how to be honest. I need to teach him that he's not going to get away with lying. For several years, we lived with some family members. So I would talk to them as well, as far as not allowing him to do certain things that my husband and I didn't want him to do. Or if my husband was not home, I would talk to them about not letting him do certain things that I didn't want him to do, right? Because a lot of times he would go to someone else, like another family member in the house, to try to get what he wanted, whether it was candy or something like that, because I told him no, right? And usually I had good reason for it. I wasn't just telling him no just to say no, but I didn't want him to have candy. Maybe he was already hyper that day. Maybe he wasn't being obedient that day and I had a lot of problems with him. I didn't want to reward him with candy, right? He didn't need candy to survive. It was something he wanted, right? And that's why it's important that we discuss these things even with our family members, the problems that we're having with our children, and we get that support from our family members or friends so that they won't be a source of feeding that manipulation, right, within your child. You can let them know, hey, you know what? I'm really trying to break them from being manipulative, right? I'm really trying to break them from this. Don't be embarrassed, parents, to open up to other people that you trust, like family members and friends, and let them know the issues that you're having if you're seeing manipulation, because you don't want them to be a source that is feeding your child these things, right? And sometimes it's just as simple as saying, hey, right now we don't want them to have this or that. I don't want my child to have candy or chips or be able to watch movies right now or games, play games or whatever it might be. You might be getting help with babysitting from somebody, friends, family, or a babysitter. Communicate with them and let them know, hey, right now, I'm not allowing my child or all of my children to do this or do that, or eat this or eat that. That's your rule, right? You can choose to share with the babysitter or the guardian that's watching them the reason why you don't want them to have it. I would suggest that you do, just so that you can make sure that they are respecting, what you're doing. And if this person that's watching your child cares about your child, like really cares about them, they're not going to want to feed into that manipulative behavior, right? Many of us have grown up hearing that it takes a village to raise a child, right? And it really does. But you want to choose your village, right? You want to choose the people that are going to help you in supporting you as you're raising your children, right? People that won't go against you and what you're doing. If what you're doing is good for your child or your children, you don't want them to change that, right? You don't want them to be working against you, right? So that's it, parents. I really enjoyed this topic today. Thank you to those parents who did submit this topic to me so we were able to address it. If you want to hear more about this topic, or even if you'd like me to do a training about it, go ahead and fill out the Google form below. And you can also let me know of any other subjects that you would like to hear me speak about. Remember, this month we're speaking about how to stand your ground. And today's topic was just the beginning. Thanks for joining me today, parents. Bye.